Okay, hello again, everybody. We're back. Welcome back. So today, Lily and I, we're gonna talk about the voyage home. We're going home finally.
The one with the whales.
Going with the whales, and we're going home also without the Enterprise.
Yeah, she did.
She is dead. She's hella dead.
she's dead.
What's really crazy too. Speaking of, so this movie starts on a pretty kind of sad note.
Mm,
There's a dedication to the people who died in the space shuttle Challenger disaster, which is a very somber thing to think about. But like we you and me we watched First Man. We watched that movie together, which is excellent, really excellent. And I think that film does a really great job of kind of highlighting the human cost of space exploration,
yeah.
because the cost is not, as with the Challenger disaster, people die. It's also that we take these brilliant people and we kind of make them do this thing that is difficult
Mm-hmm.
on them and their lives and their loved ones and everything else in the pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so there's a real cost to doing this stuff, but people all the time, they dedicate their lives and their intelligence to giving us more knowledge, and they should be commended for it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's something that just is very touching. That Star Trek, the people who make it, the people who write it, they really care about finding more knowledge and like exploration and everything like that. People aren't just doing it because it's like, ooh, willy-nilly Star Trek green women. It's just like, no, people actually care. They love it. Like so many things came out of Star Trek that inspired people to create, like the flip phone, the iPad, like holograms. Like it breathed life into people, and people pursued careers in science. It was
Yeah.
amazing, and I love that they commemorate the fact that I love that they commemorate the Challenger. I thought it was because they're married to each other, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Star Trek is science fiction, but it's still the pursuit of like humanity, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
totally.
and I think that's beautiful. My oldest brother was like maybe 5.
Hmm.
He was watching Sesame Street and it cut out
Mm.
to the Challenger.
Yeah.
And like he's like that image is burned in my brain
Yeah.
forever. Forever. And I was like, I can't imagine like seeing that. I wasn't born yet when that happened,
Mhm.
but I can't even imagine like it was so horrible, so terrible.
Yeah, I saw this documentary about it, and there were, I mean, your brother's not the only one. There's a lot of
Hmm.
schools were watching it.
Yeah.
I saw footage of like a school of people watching it live. So a lot of people watched that live and watched that happen.
And the people just on the ground watching it, there's so many different angles of it, so many people like watching it at their houses, not even actually on like the actual like launch area. Just like that's not like there was one where like one guy, because I think I watched the same documentary, he was just like, that's not supposed to happen. He's like, I don't, because he had like probably just like a tiny little home video recorder that probably didn't have a very good like lens or
Zoom.
whatever,
Yeah.
but you zoom, but he was like, that doesn't look like it's supposed to happen. And when you really go into like how old the shuttle was, and it was just not. I don't think I think I don't think they should have gone ahead with it.
I remember someone hearing like there was some person who like basically did the math and was like, this is gonna go really bad, and they felt
Yeah.
really bad about not saying enough to stop it. But it seemed like, look, human error, right?
And then the powers that be keep telling you that it's gonna be fine, and just go ahead with it. It's just like, okay. It's like, don't think this is a good idea. There was a really horrible Soviet launch that went horribly wrong, and I think one of Yuri Gagarin's best friends was on it, and it was either him or Yuri Gagarin that was going to be on it, and he was just like, I don't feel good about this. The math is not adding up. Nothing about this seems safe, and in Soviet Russia, you don't say no, so they just sent him up there, and it blew up, and it went horribly wrong, and it happens, and it's so utterly tragic. This isn't just kid stuff. There's actual danger involved in it, and I actually recently watched a mini documentary about like the moon landing conspiracy theory,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what a crock of shit! Like, and the same guy who started this theory tried going after the Challenger disaster,
Mm-hmm.
being like it was all faked, or they were sent up there on purpose, or just like a whole bunch of, it's like, people don't need to hear that. Like, how insensitive of a horrible person do you have to be?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just ugh.
I saw that guy confronted. I think it was Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, one of the two of them.
Oh, Buzz Aldrin, I think, attacked him or something.
Yeah, he punched him in the face. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great.
Good. Like,
Yeah.
good. Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad Buzz Aldrin punched that guy in the face.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just like, what a
yeah.
ugh.
And like got some virility for a guy his age.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see too. He's
Well,
like,
I think the guy called him a coward. I think he called him a coward and a liar, and Buzz was like, okay, no. Like,
I mean, the fact that he's even in this guy's presence is kind of like on a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I would love to shake an astronaut's hand. I'd be like, I just want to know. I want to be close to someone who's been there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a whole other level of, maybe not celebrity, but just.
I did meet an astronaut once.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So
cool.
if you go to Florida, the Kennedy Space Station, they have a whole thing, and I got to meet a guy who was, went to space, which was kind of cool.
That's neat. I love that. I love that.
It's very cool. Yeah, it's very. They also had this. One of the coolest things. They had this. So like they had this whole exhibit where you sit down in this kind of IMAX kind of dome thing, and you watch
cool.
this movie about. I forget. I think it was about. I forget what, like the Atlantis or something like that. I believe it was. Some shuttle, and it's like you're watching this movie, and it's like, okay, this is kind of boring. And then like this is really cool actually. So like the movie ends, and then the screen becomes like kind of transparent, and you kind of see the silhouette of something behind it, and you're like, okay, is this part of the movie? And then the whole screen goes up, and the actual shuttle is there. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that is awesome.
That's exactly how I felt too. I was like, holy shit, that's it. And then you can go there and take pictures with it. And it's like, it's kind of it was like a movie with a very, very good ending.
That is great. That is so cool. My dad took us when we were really little. I don't even remember where we were. I don't remember if it couldn't have been in Michigan. I don't know. I don't think so. But he took us to like that one of those giant like dome things. And like you watch a movie about space. Yeah. And I just remember sitting in my seat being like, this is the coolest thing ever. Can we come back every year? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay. Here's a book. Look at the pretty pictures. But no, it's mind blowing. It's so exciting.
Mind blowing.
That's why I think it's so fun. Ryan's kid is starting to get into space. It's been dinosaurs, it's been lizards, it's been like gross, creepy crawly stuff. And then we started watching Prodigy together, and they're just like, what is warp drive? And I'm like, let me
tell you.
Well, child. And I'm just like, and they sent Ryan a picture of a toy that looks similar to a character in Prodigy, and they were like, can you show this to Lily? And I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
space is so exciting. It's terrifying, but it's so exciting.
Well, at first when you're like not aware of the danger, it's like it's fun. It's because there's so much. It's so awe-inspiring. When you start looking at pictures and stuff, looking at planets, looking at galaxies, looking at the universe.
Oh yeah, imagine like I was talking to Ryan the other night, and I was just telling him I was like, I have been watching all these documentaries, and I'm just like taking it all in. I'm like, there was a time we didn't have a picture of planet Earth.
Yeah.
Like, and we take that for granted now. There was a time, and I was like, I knew, obviously I was aware that at one point in time there was no photographs of the planet Earth. But I'm like, imagine being like seeing that for the first time. Just like, I got chills actually. I'm just like, oh, totally. So cool.
And I mean,
and just hoping it would work. Just hoping.
Yeah. What was it like? There's like some Hubble. I don't know if it's not. I forget what it's called, but we're about to put it into orbit. Some like the next level of.
The James Webb telescope.
The James Webb.
It's already up there. It's unfolding its little things, and it's going to take a long process because it's very time consuming. But. Yeah, the James Webb is up there, and I can't wait.
That's the next step, and that's going to give us even more. It's going to allow us to look even deeper out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to give us more knowledge.
Exactly. And it's so like, I know when we talked about Star Trek the Motion Picture, they covered Voyager, which was actually the Voyager space probe and everything, or one of them. But I watched another documentary about like, and I don't know if it was just because the narrator is just really, really good at narration and can really make you just like feel good. But I got kind of sad at one point, and because I was like, well, no wonder why they chose Voyager to come back to Earth in Star Trek. It's sad. He was out there all by it was out there all by itself, just collecting and
He's just collecting data. Yeah.
It's just collecting data and more and more and more. And I was like, it makes total sense that they would have chosen, you know, that to be their little plot through or whatever. For the motion picture, because it is like he's just out there floating. He's just gonna keep going and going. I'm like,
oh, I thought that was like the perfect kind of Star Trek plot line to have this probe come back. That's one of these early NASA missions.
Yeah, and again, it shows that they're married and they acknowledge, you know, we can only make this show because of NASA and because of, you know, all of the exploration and science that went into it before. You know, it's just
totally. Yeah.
Again, I'm just getting chills. I'm getting so many chills right now, and I have the heat on, so I know I'm not just cold.
Yeah. It's boldly going, you know, finding more knowledge, all of that.
Can we name one the USS Boldly? We should call a probe like Boldly 1, Boldly 2. I would love that.
And Shatner went into space. You know, he went into space with Jeff Bezos.
He finally went into space.
They had a very awkward.
Fucking Jeff Bezos.
That was so funny.
This man is like, say, feel how you want about William Shatner. I know he's been controversial over the years. I get it, but like
he's also in his, you know, we were talking off air about Ridley Scott and his like, you know, yelling at clouds.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that William Shatner's yelling at clouds. It's more like there's a certain type of person who's from older generation where they like to poke at younger generations and kind of, you know, just be like, oh, that doesn't, you know, you young whippersnapper, you make no sense. Blah, blah, blah. I think you're stupid. So he does a lot of that. And he's, you know, he's on. And there's also two types of people that are on social media when they're older. There's either like super boomer and they don't understand anything, or they're like, they are fully just like ranting and raving and getting into fights with random fucking people.
Like, you have no idea how happy I am. My dad is not on Twitter. Like, you have no idea how happy I am. I know he knows what it is. He knows what it is. I'm sure he's on Reddit. I'm sure he's on other forums. I'm sure. I don't need to see it. I already know. I lived with it.
Yeah. Twitter is a cesspool.
But like, I'm really glad he's not on Twitter. I'm really glad. One of my brothers tried being on Twitter for a while, and I think he probably got chased out. And then I have another brother on Twitter who is actually like fine.
But yeah, it was really funny to see like William Shatner had this profound moment. And Jeff Bezos is just like, let's get some drinks, bro. Let's get some drinks.
Wasn't he wearing a cowboy hat or something? He had like champagne and he sprayed it all over the place. And William Shatner's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
And that's like, what he's from. It's like, you whippersnapper.
Yeah. Shatner's like, oh, I've seen the universe, I've seen death, I've seen everything, but it was beautiful and it was profound. And he's just like, he's, you know, Bezos is just like a guy who's, I don't know, just it felt like some you know, some fratty dude who's like, hey bro, let's have drinks. Like,
no, it really did.
Or like he just like banged some chick or something.
Yeah, you know? I'm just like ugh, I don't want to think, ugh, gross. But like,
I know.
But yeah, it was like, come on, just let Shatner have this moment. He's probably never gonna go back again. Like,
yeah. See, one person it's about conquest, the other person it's about exploration.
One of my favorite moments, I think William Shatner's done a couple Star Trek documentaries. I think the one I was watching was called The Captain's Chair or something, where he interviewed all of the Star Trek captains at that time. He even interviewed, I think, Chris Pine at one point.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a decent documentary, but he's out at a convention and, you know, he's walking around and people are like, hey, it's Kirk or whatever, and some guy like pats him on the shoulder and says, hey, Spock, or something, and William Shatner's just like, Spock. It was cute. It was
funny.
funny.
Okay. Well, speaking of V'ger, this starts with another probe. It's a very kind of similar to the motion picture kind of a plot line.
A
Like
little similar, yeah.
something's coming to Earth. You can't really communicate with it because it's speaking in a language that we don't really understand. And yeah, that's kind of like the opening conceit of this problem we're gonna have. And then we get into this thing with the Klingon ambassador, who's really mad, as Klingons tend to be. But he's really
so
mad
pissed.
because
It's so, oh my god, it's so great. It's so, this guy is just like, he's got that like, what's that? I don't know how you would describe it, but he does this thing with his voice where he's just like, oh.
yeah.
I love
his
it.
voice cracks multiple times.
It's
Just like,
great.
how dare you!
Exactly.
And his,
like,
son made the missile, the torpedo. They call it Genesis, but it's going to destroy our planet.
It's like, why do you think it's just about you, Mr. Klingon? Is what I want to know. Why do you think it's just about? Oh well, because Klingons got blown up. But I'm just saying. Calm your tits, dude.
So yeah, dude's hella mad. They blame Kirk for the deaths of all the Klingons who got killed on the Enterprise. And he's like, yeah, you guys made the torpedo. His son made it to destroy us, to destroy our homeworld. And we demand the extradition of Kirk. I
don't think it's gonna happen, boo.
Yeah, it's like, well, and then the president's like, well, Kirk got charged with 9 violations of Starfleet regulation. And then the ambassador's like, well, there will be no peace until as long as Kirk lives. Blah blah blah. A lot of saber rattling, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're always mad, right?
Klingons are generally always mad about something. I think part of it is that they're always kept out of the loop. But that's because you always get pissed at everything. So yeah, we're going to keep you out of the loop because your first thought is to shoot something, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, they like war. So.
Oh yeah, they're a warrior race. Like their first instinct is to grab their batleth and go to town on somebody. Like
exactly.
They still use hand-to-hand like knives and batleths. They're down, okay, for a fight at all times.
Yeah, like I said, they're down for a fight and they're looking for a fight. I think there's even, I don't know if it was in this scene or if it's later, but like someone confronts him, like, well, hey, wasn't there like, didn't you guys kill a bunch of people? It's like, well, yeah, so what?
Duh, it's what we do.
He's like, I don't even deny it. What is there to deny? Like they defended themselves.
There's actually a really great part in Star Trek Lower Decks, which is another animated Star Trek show, where like one of the characters like meets up with their old Klingon buddy, and the other guy's with him is like totally out of the loop. He's just terrified of Klingons, and she's just like, yeah, we're gonna drink and we're gonna fight and we're gonna fuck and we're gonna kill, and he's just like terrified. And he's just like, what? It's Klingons. It's what they do, man. That's one of the things that's great about Lower Decks, is that it's very self-aware. Mm-hmm. And I love it. But yeah, Klingons are just always down to kill something. Always.
Yeah. So they rattle some sabers, and then we catch up with, as the impending doom is coming, we catch up with Kirk and the team, and they're on Vulcan. They said, oh, this is our captain's log. This is our 3rd month in exile on Vulcan. And blah, blah, blah. We've renamed the ship. Something befitting, blah blah blah, and so they named it the HMS Bounty, something like that. And it's a pirate ship, and we see Spock. So is this the first time we see Spock? So he's like retraining his mind with his computer. Is this the first time we've seen anything like this?
I would probably say so, because this is, I think, might be the most time we've ever spent on Vulcan.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just like doing his homework, doing his little online courses. Probably making a website with Squarespace or something. It's just like a computer program. It's very similar to eventually when we would see like in Star Trek 2009, those little pods that Vulcan babies hang out in. It's very similar. It's a very different design, but it's very similar because it's asking him multiple questions. He has to like do multiple things at once. So it's a very similar concept, actually.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw that.
Yeah.
I thought of Star Trek 09 when he's in that little It's almost, yeah, it's kind of a pod. It's almost like they put a half circle in the ground and they just put you in there and you just go left to right, looking at all these different.
Maybe this is just the home version of it, like your own personal little home version of that. Because Vulcans are always like
a home computer.
Exactly, it's your own little PC.
Yeah,
because if Klingons are constantly always fighting and wanting a fight, then Vulcans are always just like, no, knowledge is the answer.
Yes.
So.
Mm-hmm. And at the end, it asks him, "How do you feel?"
How do you feel?
What? How do you feel?
I do not understand.
Yeah, exactly. And then he has a chat with his mom, who looks very regal.
Oh yeah.
It's just so funny how the timelines are. I keep thinking of 09 because like the mom's just dead. She's dead.
Yeah, she's dead. She's dead. Dunskies.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they have a nice little chat, and Spock, he's still getting back to where he was before he died, and so that's sort of his journey that he's on, his path. Another thing we see is the team, they vote to decide to go back to Earth, to basically face the music.
Yeah.
But Kirk's gonna be like, he's gonna be Kirk about it. Be like, well, I had to do it. Blah blah blah. I saved a bunch of people. So that's kind of a thing that we see coming. But we know that this probe is gonna be the next thing that they encounter. And again, I have to underscore, like, it's so interesting. This whole movie, there's no Enterprise.
Nope. There's
no Enterprise at all. Enterprise is dead.
Well, you could argue there is an Enterprise, just maybe not the Enterprise that we know it as.
Yeah. We'll get to that. That's a really good one. But they're not flying in, their mothership. It's in this thing that they pirated. The
rust bucket.
The rust bucket. And yeah, Scotty's complaining like, "Oh, Captain, I can't read any of the languages, and all this stuff," which is really funny. So that's kind of slowing them down too. Is like figuring out how to actually pilot this thing because it's all in a different language for them. Yeah, and so then they're all heading home, but Spock he doesn't have his uniform, so he's wearing a robe, basically.
He's wearing his comfy clothes, man. He's wearing his robe. He's wearing his little comfy clothes. Because he doesn't feel like he's part of the crew yet. You know what I mean? So he kind of has to stand out a little bit. He doesn't feel like he's not 100% yet. He wouldn't put on the uniform unless he like felt like he was ready.
Well, Kirk is like, I'm totally cool with it. Kirk is fine with it. McCoy has a few reservations about his status, but Kirk is like, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
He's very Kirk about it. This is great conversation. Kirk and McCoy and Spock have this conversation. Like basically, McCoy's like, "Hey, tell me about what it was like to die." And Spock's like, "What are you talking? I don't understand. Like, can't you see I'm doing other things? I can't."
I'm working, sir.
I love that. It was so funny. He's like, "I'm busy. Like, I can't be your silly human concerns." Like, he had some kind of, not an explanation, but he just like said something about being dead.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of offhand, but like McCoy it wasn't enough for him.
It's like, I don't have time to do a philosophical conversation with you right now, McCoy. I'm tired.
Yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, and so then as they approach Earth, they realize that like this probe is totally incinerating the planet. Basically, I forget, they said something. It was like destroying the atmosphere. It's ionized the atmosphere. It's like boiling the water. Is blocking out the sun.
Yeah, it's a really like tense scene because you're seeing like this is like Starfleet headquarters, and they just got like the glass blows in and stuff like that. Sarek is there. He's like, dude, this is bad. Like I'm like 100 at this point, and I've seen some stuff. This is bad.
Yeah, this is really bad. Yeah.
And it's really intense. Like I love it because you're like, holy shit, something really bad could happen to Earth. Like something bad is happening to Earth. Oh, and I love the way the probe looks, the way it sounds. Like
it's cool.
When I was a kid, that noise just stuck out so deeply into my mind, probably more than most things in the original Star Trek movies.
Yeah, it's as we'll learn, it's aquatic, as it were. And it also disables all sort of technology around it. So you can't fly into it or fly away from it. So those people, at in San Francisco in the future, they're screwed. They can't go anywhere. They can't get out of it. They are done.
Yeah.
They're done skis. So they're like, what do we have to do? So they sent out this distress signal telling, hey, don't come to Earth because this probe is going to destroy us.
It is a no-fly zone.
Yeah. And so Kirk is, of course, he's like, oh, there's a problem. Let me fix it. And so he's like, oh, we must respond to the probe. And so then they're trying to figure out, what's going on. And he's like, Spock's on it, as always. He's like, oh, it's some kind of signal is directed at Earth's oceans. Like, maybe they're trying to communicate with some other form of life that's not humans. And then what do they use this? I really like this. They have a computer that has a phylum search mode. That was cool. And so they analyze the noise that it's giving off, and they figure out, if you play it underwater, it sounds like a whale. And now we figure out, it's trying to communicate with humpback whales.
Ding, 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 ding. It's like, wait a second. What? And that's where the movie's message comes in. Don't hunt whales, bitch.
Yeah. Do people still hunt whales?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty outlawed at this point. I don't think so. Maybe in some countries.
Well, I don't know if you ever. I've never watched it. I'm not really into documentaries, but like there was this documentary called The Cove.
I have not been able to bring myself to see that yet because a friend of mine actually did a report on that in a class that we had together in high school, and just a couple of scenes was enough for me. Honestly, it's just hard. I don't know. Blackfish was hard enough. Blackfish was.
So for anyone who doesn't know, like The Cove and this whole thing is about, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but basically in Japan they do this, what is it, ritualistic killing of dolphins?
I think they just eat them, honestly. I think it's just part of their culture. They swarm them into a cove by banging these metal pipes into the water because it affects the dolphin's sonar. Yeah. And it confuses them, and then they separate the moms from the babies and everything like that. I'm sure some maybe go into water parks, but it's a traditional thing. A lot of people. Hey, Hayden Panettiere, she was an actress in Heroes. She actually went there and she almost got killed. She was on like a surfboard or something, and someone hit her really hard with something. Or she was on a paddleboard. Something happened. She got hit in the head. But yeah, it was bad. Like people were going there to like try and like stop them from taking the dolphins.
So she was out basically protesting, and they
she was out protesting, and her? The fishermen or whoever hit her in the head with something. It was really, really, it's very, very dangerous because you're not just coming for coming for dolphins. You're coming for someone's source of income. You're coming for someone's culture. Yeah. Which even if I don't agree with it, it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel good anyway, but it's very hard to tell them what you've been doing for your entire culture for maybe hundreds of or thousands of years is bad because it makes me upset. You know what I mean? It's just, there's no good way of going about it. And I feel like the guy who was in the Cove the most was actually a trainer for the flippers, the flipper dolphins. And he had a change of his life basically when one of them drowned themselves. Like it intentionally killed itself because it was in so much pain. And it died in front of him. And he was like, yeah, this is actually wrong. We shouldn't be doing this to animals. Yeah. And the Voyage Home at this point in Earth's history, humpback whales are completely extinct and gone. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. No, that's why, conservation is really important.
There's no more dodo birds.
There's no more dodo birds. Like the rhinos are going to be gone before Ryan's kid gets to be 18, probably. Like, really tragic. Yeah, elephants are evolving not to have tusks. Like, they're evolving not to have tusks anymore. Like, that should tell you something.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a lot of what kind of plays into this movie is like they go to the 20th century and it's like, they basically like, dude, this is barbarism. I think Kirk even
They
says like
really do. It's
Kirk
just
even
like,
says like everyone bring a everyone bring a phaser and
yeah,
and pair up because like we are in a in a primitive time.
we are in a primitive time. We do not understand these people. And I like how he kind of has this like moral high ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not because the movie at the end of the day is about conservation. And he comes to the past with this moral high ground, assuming that nobody gives a shit about the earth or the planet or about animals or anything. And he kind of is he's kind of taken off that moral high ground when he meets the scientist who is doing everything in her power to try and save whales. So I like that about the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, same here.
Because it's so easy to look at the past and be like, oh, you guys all suck. Nobody cared about anything. It's like, I'm sure there was plenty of people who cared. It's
Nobody
just
listened.
nobody listened.
Mm-hmm. Which is another theme of scientists feeling frustrated. Yeah. So anyway, so they figure out, okay, so this probe, it's trying to talk to whales. There's no whales left. So how are we going to get a whale? Well, we have to go to into the past to get a whale.
It's so obvious, guys.
Yeah, like like
you guys don't do that. Logical. You guys don't go back in time and just grab the pet and then come back to the future. It's not going to disrupt the ecosystem or anything.
So then they. Okay, so this is the thing so there's a couple things that happen. So we're gonna time travel. Okay, I'm cool with that. So they do warp, and they're doing like a warp slingshot around the sun.
Hell yes, they are.
And that time travels, like
apparently.
What? Okay,
just go with it. Go with it. Okay. We're gonna go just gonna slingshot our little ship by comparison to the sun, going in a rust bucket of a Klingon ship. Yes, it's had some upgrades because of, the Vulcans and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think they were just doing some welding, obviously. They didn't get a new computer system. They didn't get new phasers or anything. They're just like, yeah, we'll just weld this hull right here. You're fine. Get off my planet. And they're just going to go, boo.
Okay, so we slingshot around. Okay, I can get behind that. I'm cool with that. So this montage that happens.
I love it.
What the what? What? So there's a montage of just images and like stuff and water and people's faces
and even like dialogue that's not said until further into the movie.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is like
that I do like.
That I really like because it's showing. It's almost like it's hi. What do you want? Why are you poking me? It's almost showing like this. They're transcending to the past and the future. It's all kind of coming into one. I think there's like I think there's like a human body at one point that's just like full of light.
Yeah.
There's some wacky imagery. I think some of it was probably just to be weird, and some of it was supposed to actually mean something. But yeah, then I think there's like their heads are like popping up or something. Yeah, it's weird. It's cool, but I love it. It's weird.
It's really interesting part of it. Very strange, but cool. And so yeah, they get back. They get to Earth in basically the 80s. They're in San Francisco in the 80s. They land in Golden Gate Park. They cloak the ship. They land. A couple guys see them land. Some garbage truck guys. They're like, "Hey, yo, you see that?" It's like, "No, I didn't see
you didn't either."
Get on the truck. We're going to the next stop.
I love that because the ship is cloaked, it meant that they didn't have to have a giant prop the whole time or a bad special effect. So they have the convenience of it being cloaked, but they still can do some fun stuff with it. I think like a trash can gets crushed. You have the indents of like the landing gear, like in the ground and stuff. And then you just have them walking out of nothing almost. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a couple good gags with the invisible ship later.
Mm-hmm.
But, they do have a problem. Unfortunately, the dilithium crystals are cracking, so they can only be there for like a day. I think that's basically what it means. And, or at least cloaked. And there's no way to fix it. like I think Scotty says like, "Oh, we can't even fix it in our time." So like, there's no way we're going to fix it in the 20th century. Yeah, and then he says like terra incognita. It's like I wonder if that's a real thing in like it's like in the like the manual.
I
When you go
don't
back
think.
in time, you must be terra incognita. You can't
I
in
think
case.
I don't think any of this is in the manual. Going back in time to rescue a couple of humpback whales to repopulate the species so that you can communicate with a probe from deep space is not in the manual.
Yeah.
Or it is
And
now.
yeah, it is now. Yeah. And so Spock is still wearing his, what is this, like a traditional garb of Vulcan garb?
Probably. They're always wearing robes and stuff.
Yeah. And so he like tears off a piece of it and then he ties it around his head like a kung fu master. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else is he gonna do? They're not gonna crop his ears.
Okay. So then they're out.
Vulcans have, martial arts. They do have their own martial arts.
Well, I mean, we see the Vulcan nerve pinch in this movie.
It's not just that. They got more. They got more pinches. They got more stuff. I don't think Spock never does it. This incarnation of Spock never does. But,
No,
09 Spock could kick a little ass.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about Into Darkness, which will be a long time from now, but when we talk about there's a fight.
Yeah, he ain't no pushover.
Not at all.
They're book smart, but they know how to kill a bitch.
Not at all. So they're on Earth at this time, and Kirk says, "Okay, pair up, and always bring a phaser because like we're in the Stone Age. These are very different people.
These are very primitive times. There's they need money. They need money at one point, which is one of my favorite moments because he's like, Spock, McCoy and I are gonna go get money, but no, Spock and Kirk are gonna go get money. But then they're all just like mingling in like this group, and he's like, spread out, like
yeah. They're all just like right next to each other.
They don't know what to do with themselves. And he decides to sell his
glasses that were
glasses
that were given to him by McCoy.
And I don't remember how much money he gets for them. Maybe like $100, but he has no concept of money. So he's like,
"Is that a lot?" Yeah, and the guy's like, "Yeah." He just shrugs, like, "Okay, we'll take it."
Yeah, I mean, to you maybe, but and then Spock is just like, "Well, weren't those the glasses McCoy gave you for your birthday?" Which I don't think he was there for that. So I wonder how he knew. Yeah, probably just in passing.
I believe that was in Wrath of Khan. Right?
Yeah, it was in Wrath of Khan. Oh, so he might have been there for that.
He gave him a book.
Yeah, but then Kirk is just like, well, if they're meant to come back, then they will.
Yeah, he basically says like, oh, the fun part is that like since I'm leaving them in the past, he's gonna get them and give them to me again in the future, which is great because it's true.
Exactly. So he's like, I'm not really losing them.
Yeah, I'm not losing them. Like this is how they got to him, right?
Exactly. I love that, and it's just such a little. I like that little. Yeah. And then he gives them all money, and he's just like, I don't know how much I'm giving these people. Just like take it.
Yeah. And then they try to ride the bus, and then they get kicked off. It's like what? So basically, they're trying to find whales, and so Spock goes.
He's staring at a map, and he's just like, I think I can triangulate our position, and to blah 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 blah. And Kirk just sees like a billboard.
He sees a billboard on a bus that has 2 whales on it. And he's like, oh, there's some kind of like, I don't know, what was it, conservatory or something like that?
An oceanic conservatory institute thing. A place where whales would not be able to live for real.
He's like, oh, we got to go to Salinas.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically
what does it mean, exact change?
Yeah. So they can't get on the bus. Uhura and, who is it? Chekhov. Are like, so they need to get some nuclear particles or something. Yep. To power the ship, so they have to like get onto a nuclear armed, what would you call
aircraft carrier?
Yeah, an aircraft carrier. And they're asking, oh, do you know how to get to Alameda?
You have a Russian in the 1980s asking how to get to a freaking American naval base, and he's dressed like a spy.
Yeah, he is dressed like a spy.
It is so unbelievably funny that he didn't get arrested on the street.
Well, they ask a cop.
And he's just staring at them.
He just stares at them like. Doesn't arrest them, just stares at them.
He's suspicious, and I didn't catch that until I was much older of why why everyone's so suspicious of him.
Oh yeah. Like, especially in the whole subplot that they get into later, which is kind of perfect with him on this, this aircraft carrier, where it's like, ooh, this is the worst place possible for him.
This is the worst place he could be. It's like, you guys not know your history? I mean, I know it was really far in the past for you guys, but goddamn.
Yeah, maybe I'm trying to think of what the equivalent would be. I guess it'd be like if one of us was in, I don't know, like North Africa or something, and then but it was taken over by the Saracens, and they just see certain people like, oh, if you look European, you're just like the enemy or something, or I can see that. I can see how that would kind of throw us for a loop, maybe. But you would think that they would have prepared for it, but it does give us a good.
It gives you comedy.
It gives us comedy. Yeah, there's a lot of comedy in this. That's good. So
for the nuclear vessels.
I
had to say it. The nuclear vessels. Oh, I think it's an Alameda. That's what I said.
You cannot say we're looking for the nukes. Have a Russian guy say
the nuclear vessels. Exactly.
No, you can't do that.
It's like, Chekhov, you were asking to be shot.
Yeah, I mean, he should have gotten shot in this movie.
Oh my god. But yeah, him and what?
It was he gets fried in the first movie, right?
Yeah, he gets zapped by his console.
Yeah.
Poor Chekhov.
Yeah, he gets it kind of bad. We'll talk about he gets it kind of bad in this too, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, him and her are trying to find the nuclear vessels. And Sulu, I think is Sulu flying solo?
Sulu, yeah.
No, he's with McCoy and Scotty at one point, but then he has to go and do his own thing.
They kind of split up, yeah.
Yeah.
They need to. I forget what I totally forget what he's doing.
He needs to find a way. Okay, so Scotty and McCoy need the really thick glass that's gonna hold all of this water, including the weight of 2 massive animals. So they need really thick glass. They need a way to transport the glass. So that's why Sulu goes off and gets a helicopter.
Yeah, he goes to some Air Force base. He gets a helicopter from some guy.
I love how Sulu just totally fits in. Everyone else is kind of like off a little bit. Like you got Uhura and Chekhov, who are totally out of their element. Scotty and McCoy are kind of laying it on a little thick. And then Sulu's just walking around, like just enjoying himself. He makes friends with a pilot.
He does, yeah.
He is totally at home.
Yeah, totally. He basically just borrows that helicopter. No one says anything about it. And I really like that the whole, I think it's Scotty and McCoy. They meet with some textile manufacturer guy.
Yeah.
and
they're laying it on pretty
computer.
Hello, computer.
Hello.
My mom still does that when she can't get her phone to do something. She'll be like, she'll hold the phone up and be like, hello, computer. She still does that. She loves this movie. Like she loves Scotty's character, especially probably just for that moment where he holds up the mouse. Hello, computer.
Hello, computer.
It's so cute.
Now it's funny, you say hello Siri and it'll turn on. And
exactly.
It'll do what you want.
Yeah, the AI in my bedroom randomly asked me last night. Randomly, I was watching a show. Randomly asked me, "Would you like me to set a certain time of night to turn the lights off?" I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah,
I just turn the volume up on the TV.
It's listening to you. Anyway, so Kirk and Spock, they go on the tour, and they meet. Was it Jillian? I believe is her name. It's really cool. She's got that. I forget. I think what's his name. Kind of puts it well in Jurassic Park. He's like, oh yeah, I'm always looking for the next ex Mrs. Malcolm. She definitely kind of has a feel of like the next ex Kirk love interest.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But a very intelligent person.
Yeah, she's still a smart character. She knows what she's talking. She's so passionate too. Like she she lives and breathes whales. Like this is her whole life. Like she is the conservationist in the story for sure.
Yeah, and so she's doing the tour, talking about how there's all this whaling stuff. We get some pretty gnarly footage of whales getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these two whales. Was it Gracie and
George and Gracie, which my parents actually named two of our pigs after this.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And Spock mind melds with the whale.
Oh my god, it's so.
He jumps in there and he mind melds with the whale.
I just love that he literally just disappears into the crowd. He's not getting his answers from her, so he's like, I'm just gonna go to the next best thing.
I'm gonna go to the whale.
I'm just gonna go to the whale. Like, and it makes perfect sense in Spock's mind. Yeah, why wouldn't he just go to directly to the source? And I just love. I love the reactions of the people. She's doing her thing. She's talking, and they're like, maybe he's talking with that man. The special of like the I don't know what I think it'd probably be called an animatronic whale is just I think it looks great. I think it still looks really, really good. He's in there and he's melding with you. Just see this giant eye staring at him. And the thing that's so great is that it is a highly intelligent animal that would be able to communicate with Spock telepathically in this world. But I love Kirk's reaction where he's just like, he's like, oh God, what are you doing? You're going to blow our whole cover. What are you doing?
Yeah, the cover is
in his underwear, mind melding with the whale. And of course,
he gets out and he's it's like he took an afternoon swim, basically.
Yeah, I love how Jillian thinks he's a pervert or something. Because you always hear those stories about people who climb into like the lion's enclosure or something, or oh my God. So she probably just thought he was one of those weirdos.
Yes. So they kind of get kicked out basically, and and then Jillian kind of meets them in the parking lot, like gives them a ride. They have a chat. And then there's some more jokes, some stuff about, I think he's like, oh yeah, Spock, he went to Berkeley or something.
He did a little too much LDS.
LDS. He doesn't say that. He says LDS. That's really funny. And so then, Jillian and Kirk decide to have dinner together. And Spock also tells her, oh yeah, by the way, Gracie's pregnant. She's like, what? No one knew that. Well, of course I knew that. I mind melded with the with the whale. What do you think I was doing, woman?
So yeah. And they are not the hell. They like you very much, but they are not the Hellier whales. I like that he just reaffirms, but no, they like you. They're very fond of you, but they are not the Hellier whales.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, they wouldn't. It's to think that you could have humpback whales in an enclosure or in any kind of institute, SeaWorld-esque. I mean, it's not SeaWorld, obviously.
SeaWorld is like pretty bad.
Fuck SeaWorld.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so they're gonna have pizza. I think they have pizza.
Yeah, they have. I think they go to an Italian restaurant for dinner, the two of them, and then they talk, and basically Kirk spills a bunch of stuff. At first she's, it seems like she doesn't totally believe him.
I think she thinks he's a nut.
You think, yeah. She's like, oh, you're crazy, but this is interesting. I'll kind of play along.
He has beer. He has like actual alcohol for the first time. It's these little character reactions that make this movie so great because like they have synthahol in the future. They don't get drunk. If they get drunk on anything, it's alien booze that's actual like booze. But no, he's like takes a sip of beer and he's just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I suppose you don't use money in the 24th century. Well, we don't.
No, we don't. Great. I have to get the bill. She has to pay. It's really funny. Meanwhile, Uhura and Chekhov somehow sneak onto this ship.
I mean, the security must have been really lax that
really
day.
Bad. I mean,
during the Cold War of all times.
To be fair, they could have gotten beamed onto it, maybe, right?
Oh wait, they do.
Yeah, I forgot that.
They had, I think it was like they had a window. Mm-hmm. They had a window of time, which is why they couldn't beam them both out at the same time. Yeah, they probably just got beamed on. That makes way more sense, actually.
Yeah, they just needed to know where it was. They're like, oh, Captain, we found it. And they're like, okay, so at this time, do the thing, get the particles. So yeah, they sneak onto the ship, and Uhura. So like, there's this whole thing about I guess what was it, like the particles or something are like making the beaming them out difficult.
Yeah.
So they beam out Uhura, but Chekhov gets stuck.
Scotty,
there.
that was a good time. Yeah, he gets chased around a little bit.
He gets chased around, yeah. He gets chased around a lot in a couple of sequences. Yeah, he gets caught. And when does this? Yeah, so someone's talking to him, an American guy, and he's like, this guy's a freaking idiot. He's obviously Russian, but like he's a dumbass. So I don't know.
He's really bad at whatever he's trying to do.
Yeah. And Chekhov like pulls I will have to stun you. I don't want to, but I will. And it's like fails on him.
It makes a little noise.
Yeah. So then again, the security on this is terrible. On this vessel, terrible. So he gets away. He's running around. There's armed MPs who don't shoot him, thankfully.
I mean, I think eventually he probably would have gotten caught. It's a big area. Yeah, it
is really big.
And he does not know where he's going.
Because then he jumps off a cliff, basically.
No, he falls accidentally. Okay. Yeah.
So
he loses his footing or something.
He falls and he gets injured. And yeah, so that's really bad because he's injured, as we'll find later. Being injured in the 20th century can be a death sentence. That's basically
how anyone from the 23rd century sees
it.
Which is ironic because it was still better than like the 18th century.
Yeah, like it's funny too because like later McCoy's like, "Is this a Spanish Inquisition?" Shit like that. He said.
I know he had some like device or something in his hand. He's like, "What the hell is this goddamn Inquisition?" He just throws it. It's like that's probably like a $10,000 device you just threw.
Yeah,
like,
someone on dialysis.
Because they were going to do brain surgery on him.
They drill. I think that's the procedure where they drill a hole in your head to ease the pressure on your brain. No, for real.
Ugh, yeah. I know it's real. I don't know. Something about drilling into a skull is just like,
Yeah.
Scan me. Put me on ice until something better comes along.
Exactly. Yeah. Freeze my head.
Exactly.
So Jillian, so she's like going into work, and then this other guy's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, they shipped the whales off already." She's like, "What?" Like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah,
sorry,
I think the institute didn't have enough money to like keep them there, so they had to be released into the wild.
Yeah, so they are being flown to Alaska. So
which is a death sentence for a whale at the time.
Yeah, because that's like where the whaling industry is, basically. So she's like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" So she runs off to Golden Gate Park, and she finds the invisible.
She just walks right in.
Basically walks right into it. And she also so she sees Scotty receiving that giant thing from Sulu in his helicopter. And so you see this thing getting lowered into this invisible thing. You see Scotty receiving it. Like, "Oh, I think we got a problem, Captain." And so, they bring her in, they beam her up, and she kind of sees the whole thing, and, the jig is up. But she tells them, "Oh, hey, our whales, they're already in Alaska, but we do have a tracking on them. So we can find them, but we got to go soon." But they can't go until they get Chekhov, who's in critical condition at Mercy Hospital. So they got to get him they got to get him, number one, because they need him. Number two, as we're going to find out, they're going to drill some holes in his head.
Which, again, is makes sense for the time period of what they're doing. But for them, it probably sounds like medieval torture. It's like, what are they going to do to him?
This is a really fun scene. So McCoy, Jillian, and Kirk, they impersonate doctors to go find Chekhov. And basically McCoy is like, it'd be the equivalent of if you took a doctor from today and you sent them into some some den where there are people with leeches on them and shit,
bloodletting.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "What the hell is going on?" And he's just like, he helps this woman with dialysis. He like,
I know, I love the lady with
and he
dialysis.
saves her.
What's wrong with you? Dialysis. He's like,
They-
dialysis. He's like, you take that. And then he
Take
just
this
pats
pill.
her on the cheek. He has a great bedside manner for just not wanting to be there. It's so sweet. I love it.
Yeah. It's great. And
He's like, what?
I think there's a scene where there's like two other doctors in a there's two doctors in the elevator, and they're saying some kind of wacky stuff, and yeah, again, all of his reactions are hilarious. He's like, "You're gonna do what?
Yep.
What is this? The Spanish? I think that's the Spanish Inquisition line."
Yeah, I think they ask him what his opinion would be because he like scoffs at it, and
Yeah,
he just says like, "Goddamn Spanish Inquisition." I think he probably has said it more than once throughout the series, honestly, but it's great. And they're just like, "What's his problem?"
Yeah. And so then they bust into where they're about to have this operated, surgery, where they drill into his brain, and McCoy's like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "We're gonna do blah blah blah." And they have this scene is like really well done. I have no idea what they're saying.
Me either.
I have no idea what they're saying, but you can tell it's two doctors in a dick measuring contest.
Yes.
And McCoy obviously wins it because he's McCoy.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like, it's really funny, this back and forth. It's almost like seeing two lawyers sparring over very, intricate stuff in the law. And it's funny. Kirk's like, "Okay, oh yeah. So yeah, I know this is terribly so unprofessional. So come with me. Let's talk it out. We'll figure out what to do." So they all, like the nurses and the doctors, he puts them into this room. He closes the door, and then he uses his phaser or whatever to seal the door so they can't get out.
And they're like, "What the hell?"
Okay, he's like, "Okay, now actually fix him." So they put some thing on his head, basically, and the thing heals him.
Yeah, that same device is used throughout Star Trek. Okay. I don't know. I don't remember what it's called. Like a cortical stimulator? I think I'm right. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, but it fixes him instead of having to drill into his skull. And they did it, but now they have to escape. So then they kind of run out of there, which is really fun. And they get out, and Jillian is like, I'm not staying here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not staying in the 20th century. Fuck that. I want out. And so she does this whole thing where she like jumps onto Kirk before they beam him out, and so she's aboard the Enterprise too. Oh no, not the Enterprise. I'm sorry. Whatever we want to call this. Yeah, the bounty. And then they're off to save the whales. Literally, they're going to save the whales. So they get this. They get the tracking, and they find the vessel that's about to. So like, it's so funny, right? So the whales are put into the ocean, and immediately there's this vessel that's gonna hunt them and kill them. And so they're like, "Oh, we gotta stop them." And they right as I think they were like about to shoot the harpoon or something, and then
the fishermen were or the whalers were waiting for them to surface, because that's what whale hunters do. They spot the whales, they go under, they wait for them to surface again because they have to come up for air at some point. And then that's when they would usually shoot the harpoon. And like this is such a great shot. I love this shot of like the Klingon ship decloaking right in front of them, and the harpoon bounces right off, and they're just like, "Ah, what the hell is that?"
Yeah, it's great. And then they save the whales, and then Scott's like, "Admiral, there'll be whales here.
There'll be whales."
And they save the whales. They put them in that little containing part of the ship, and mission
back
accomplished.
to the future.
Back to the future. And so then they do another slingshot, which is successful, and then they get back to Earth, and then the ship fails because of the probe. So then they crash into the San Francisco Bay, and then their ship sinks.
Oh yeah, they come out of the mist like right underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and they go whew, and then they just like crash it right into the water. I love that shot.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. But then the whales are set free. They're back into their natural habitat, and then they start to communicate with the probe. And then the probe is like, "Oh, okay, cool. Hello, handshake." And then this little there's like an orb, so it's like a cylinder, and then the orb goes back into the cylinder, and then the probe goes away. That's it. The whales saved Earth.
Yep.
Humpback whales saved the Earth in this timeline.
It's like almost like we need them or something on our planet. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're meant to be here to share.
It's almost like whatever we're getting out of their body mass, whale oil or just blubber or food, it's not worth destroying them from the planet. That they may have some other purpose.
Or like whalebone used to be used in corsets because it was you could bend it really easily. Corseted whalebone or a whalebone corset was very highly valued.
That's depressing.
Yep. A perfume. Whale blubber would be in perfume, or oil would be in perfume. They put it in everything. It was just like, yeah, they're gonna be here forever. Yeah.
I forget what that saying was from Albert Einstein. I think it's like there's only two. I think it's like there's only one infinite thing in the universe, and that's human stupidity. I think that's the quote.
I think that's very appropriate.
Yeah. Oh my god. So Kirk has to face the music. And
kind of.
Yeah. This is a fun one. This is a fun. So how do you punish someone or just save the planet? So he's brought before the. Well, they find a way. They actually.
That's true. They do. They do find a way. Give him what he's always wanted. Like for the last 3 movies, this is what he's wanted.
This is kind of a brilliant stroke. It's like, and then when the Klingons come back and they're like, "What?" It's like, well, we punished him. What are you talking about?
We demoted him.
We demoted him. So they decide to reduce his rank to captain. He's no longer an admiral.
Oh, good. He didn't want to be an admiral in the first place.
Oh my god! It's like when this stuff happens all the time where it's like they get into some controversy and it's like, oh well, I'm taking 2 weeks off and then I'm gonna go and start my own company, and then that company gets bought by the company they quit. Like, this is basically the equivalent.
Yeah.
So he's now he's reduced to a captain.
Gas.
But then at the end they applaud him. Which is great.
Yeah.
So funny. And so then we see Jillian again, and she's become a science officer, and she's like, oh, I've got stuff to do. I got to do some science.
Thanks for the ride, sweetie, but I gotta bail.
Yeah, gives him a kiss on the cheek, and she's like, I thought we were gonna date. He's like, nah, I'm into science.
She's like, how does it feel, Kirk?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, who's the one who made Genesis? The two of them seem to like,
he likes smart women. He likes smart ladies.
He does. At least this incarnation.
Yeah, at least this Kirk likes smart women.
I would have loved to see the JJ version of this. It's like, how can we get Jillian in a bikini or something?
Ugh. Oh, she would have had to like jump in with the whales at some point.
Oh, that would have been
That's probably what he would have done. She would have would have been. Yeah, that's
like we see Kirk, we see Spock mind melding with the whale, and so then she like takes off her clothes, of course, and she's in a bikini and she jumps in.
Yeah, that would have been it.
It's funny, but that would have happened. Like, right? Like, that would have happened.
How can we make this movie sexy? She's naked with the whales.
Yeah, and so then there's this cool scene between Spock and his dad, and I guess Dad's going back home, and Spock has to, he's doing he's doing his thing, and he's like, send Mother a message, tell her I feel fine, which I thought was great. More of this evolution of the reborn Spock, right? reborn. We also see Savick in this for like a minute.
Yeah, for like a hot minute. She's like, yeah, I'm taking off. Bye.
It's really interesting because like they have a moment, Savick and Spock, and it just feels like one of those things like, are we ever going to talk about what happens between the two of them?
No, they don't really. That's the thing. The Vulcan cult, they don't need to. They know it's for humans. It's probably like, aren't you guys going to talk? Is this like super awkward for them? It's just like, yeah, it's not awkward for them. They don't feel awkwardness, so it's just kind of like, hi, bye, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. They don't get hung up on that stuff.
No, why would they? There's no point.
Yeah. So then at the end, they're like, okay, well, we're going to get a new ship. And they're just like, well, we'll take whatever we can get. And we see this one ship. Well, do you remember the first ship we see? The name of that ship?
I think is it the Excelsior?
I think it might be the
Excelsior. I think it might be the Excelsior.
See the Excelsior, and it's like, okay. And then it's like, reveal, and we see the new Enterprise, the NCC 1701-A.
Enterprise A, babe.
It's back.
She is back in business. So the 3 months you guys were in exile, this is what we were working on, by the way.
We're building it in dry dock.
Yeah.
And she's ready for her maiden voyage, which will be in the next movie, right?
Yeah, they got her in the next movie.
And that's the Voyage Home. Save the whales. I mean, that's basically what we should be called. Star Trek Save the Whales.
Exactly. I think it's a good message.
Yeah. Like you're saying, conservation is important because there's all kinds of species that. I mean, it's really kind of crazy because climate change has created. They've actually classified it as a mass extinction event. Scientists have. It is a mass extinction event, and it is killing. I think it's basically the equivalent of when the asteroid hit the planet that killed the dinosaurs. It is the equivalent of that is happening in terms of extinctions.
But it's not happening now, so why should we worry about it?
Yeah,
actually, it is.
One thing I'll say about I think a lot about Tenet sometimes because the thing I really find interesting, like that film is basically about climate change. It's about like climate change is so bad that people in the future are like, F it, we're gonna try and kill people in the past because they put us in the situation, so why not? And I always just like think about like what the future is like in that movie because it's so apocalyptic that just for me,
I wouldn't want to be there. I mean, you've gotten to the point where you want to mass extinct the past. Yeah. That doesn't sound like a good future to me.
It's so bad that they're willing to flip a switch that has basically it's like the scientist is like, you know, if we do this, we could destroy the universe. And the people are like, yeah, fine. This is so bad. I'm cool with that.
I'm fine with that. I can live with that because I might not be here to actually have to worry about it.
So it's so apocalyptic that it's kind of hard to comprehend, but we're kind of heading there. I mean, that's almost the future that we're setting for future generations. You know, like there are people who are gonna not be born, and they're gonna be. There's so many things that they. We'll show them a picture of the Great Barrier Reef. And like, whoa, that was a thing? Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, it's totally gone.
Gone. Gone.
Which will be devastating. It's going to be completely devastating.
See it while you can. I mean, it's still kind of there. I mean, it's been reduced massively. But see it while you can, because like this stuff is going to be gone. And it's just sad, and no one cares.
Yeah, there's a enormous apathy.
And we can only do as much as we can. Try and say, hey, you know, these things are important. Conserving these things matter. We need to change our behavior because in the end, we all have to live on this planet for a long time. You know, hopefully human beings will be able to live on other planets at some point. Our species won't completely annihilate itself before then. Until that point, we have to preserve this planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't just think that, you know, we can kill all the whales, we can kill all the dolphins, we can kill all the rhinos or elephants. We can't just kill all of these animals, destroy our environment, pillage with pure avarice, and think that there isn't going to be some kind of blowback on us.
Yeah, exactly. There's already been dozens of species that have been wiped out and destroyed. And every now and then you're like, oh, this extinct animal might have been spotted in the Amazon. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It fucking wasn't. It might be something that looks similar, but it's dead. It's gone. Okay, it's all fucking gone. And I sometimes I think about what a conservationist Teddy Roosevelt was. Like, he really was. National parks, animal conservation, and then he just would go and shoot everything with the intention to bring it back so other people can see it. Instead of maybe just why don't you just take a
photo?
Take a photo of it? Why don't you just freaking paint a picture? Why don't you stuff something that's not real? Like, why do you have to go and shoot everything? And that's why I get really pissed off when people are just like, I mean, feel what you want about Teddy Roosevelt or whatever, but he was a huge contradiction. Like, we have all these amazing national parks, and for that we should be totally grateful, and I appreciate that. But I'm just like, he also just went out and shot everything because he wanted to. Like, he wanted to shoot something.
Yeah.
And now it's like, and I think people like that are just promoting that it's just gonna be there forever. It's not gonna just be there because you think it will. It's just,
no, it's not.
And these fucking trophy hunters. Oh my god! Anytime I hear that a trophy hunter got mauled by something, I'm like, good.
It's a great day.
I can sleep fine knowing that someone who was just going to shoot an animal to put its head on a wall is not around anymore. I'm fine with that. I just got dark. Sorry. I get passionate about these things.
Well, I mean, the way I always see it is like, when it comes to us and like, these things in nature, it's pretty clear. We just leave them alone and they're going to be fine.
They flourish. We leave them alone, they flourish. When nobody was going outside at the beginning of COVID, nature was flourishing.
It's not like, imagine if a freaking bear just like busted into your house and chopped off your hand, and they had a plaque full of human hands. Oh yeah, that's what bears, they have this nature of human trophy hunting. None of them do that. They just like look for food, and as long as their habitat is preserved, they don't want to have anything to do with us.
No, and most of the time bears are pretty docile animals. It's not until you piss one of them off that it's just like, I'm bigger than you.
Yeah.
And I've got teeth and I've got claws, and you are a very breakable thing. And it's like, sometimes, like, there was actually there was a freak bear attack in New Hampshire 2 or 3 years ago. The bear had gone, like, basically the equivalent of, I don't think he had rabies. I don't even know if bears can contract rabies, honestly, but it randomly attacked a motorcyclist and killed him. And they had to put the bear down.
Yeah.
But it happens in nature. It happens to humans. Humans go crazy and do wild, horrible things all the time.
Oh, every day.
Like, there was the Greyhound bus. There was that guy who did something really horrible on a Greyhound bus, and I don't know how squeamish you are, so I don't really want to repeat it. He just went crazy one day.
Yeah.
Then killed someone on a Greyhound bus, and it was just, he just sat there and waited. I was just, I guess if I was an animal whose habitat was being encroached and I was constantly being hunted by something, I'd probably get pissed too. It's like, why are we still surprised when whales at SeaWorld freak out?
Do you ever see that video of the guy who encountered, I think it was a mountain lion? It was so there's this really, it was I think it came out maybe last year sometime. This guy, so basically it's this guy, he's on this trail and there's a mountain lion, and it's a female mountain lion, and basically it chased him off for a long time. The video was like 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Oh my god.
And he's recording it, and then it's like, it does this thing where it's like, it's just like, it would like run at him and like kind of make itself kind of appear big, and
like mock charge him.
Maybe. I wouldn't say it felt threatening.
Did he live?
Oh, he lived, yeah.
Oh my god, what a lucky son of a bitch.
But so, this video came out, and like people were like, oh my god, that's so scary. And then it came out later, basically more of the story was like, he got very close to the cubs of this mountain lion. and so it felt threatened, and then it chased him off for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, don't screw with a mama animal. Like they
No,
do not abide by the same rules we do. Like you see soccer mom fights, and that is vicious. Like
Yeah.
that is a whole thing. Like soccer mom fights are vicious, but they have to abide by the rules of man, which a mountain lion does not.
No, it doesn't. Well, but the rule of the jungle is you stay away from my kids.
Yeah, exactly. Stay away from my
that's
kids, or I
even,
won't kill you.
to be honest, like that's a human thing too.
Yeah, exactly. It's he is very, very lucky. It could have been a Leonardo DiCaprio Revenant thing.
I'll have to send you this video, yeah. But
That
again,
is
that's
scary.
another example, like stay away. Now, I mean, this gets into the whole like, should we be hiking kind of stuff? Is that the safest thing?
He wouldn't know. How would he have known? You know what I mean? Like there is a level of just like accidental, like it just happens. Like you don't know.
So with this guy, the real thing with the story is that it wasn't accidental.
It wasn't.
I think he started like recording, like he was looking for the cubs of this animal.
Yeah, you're asking for it at that point. Like
exactly.
They don't just want, if you see two healthy looking small animals that are eventually going to be apex predators, there's a mom around. Like
so he stuck his foot in the shit on that one a little bit. Exactly.
Just asking for it at that point, man. Like it's just
hard.
like
Just leave them alone.
They're cute, but their mom isn't. Like no, she's got like
a zoo. It's not a zoo. Like people have
these
fucked up ideas of what to do with animals. Leave the animal alone.
Yeah,
leave it alone.
Leave it alone. You're not Steve Irwin. You have no experience.
And he got killed by a stingray.
Yeah,
by the way.
Well, he didn't. Well, Steve Irwin wasn't going up to a mountain lion's cubs and being like, "Let me hold you." And what happened to Steve Irwin was also a freak accident. Like that rarely ever happens. But yeah, like, ugh. What an idiot. Not Steve Irwin, the other guy.
Not good. Anyway, so yeah, I think that that covers our conversation as part of this chat. Any kind of final thoughts about this film or Star Trek?
Watch it. It's one of my favorite Star Trek films because after 3 films, one of which was incredibly boring, one was super sad, one was a search for Spock. We found him. You need a lighthearted 4th movie. The 4th movie is so lighthearted. It has a really beautiful message. Conservation is the message, and it's important. And I'm happy that it goes to show you how long they've been trying to tell people that conservation is important. Like this was made in the 80s. Like this is really important. And again, it's a very simple story and it's just fun. It's one of the more fun Star Trek movies.
Totally. Last question. Are you excited for the new Star Trek show? What's the newest one that they're going to do?
Strange New Worlds.
I think, aren't they doing one? It's like Starfleet Academy?
Eventually, but I haven't heard any news about it recently. I think they will eventually do a Starfleet Academy one because I think they've covered like the 8 to 12-year-old demographic. They have the adult demographic. I think they're probably going to try and tap into the teen demographic a little bit.
Yeah, I think they announced something a couple of days ago for Starfleet Academy, a new show, a new spinoff. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of Star Trek shows, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're just probably going to try and tap into that demographic. I'm more excited about Strange New Worlds personally.
Okay. Good to know. All right. That's our chat for today. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care, and may the Force be with you.
Live long and prosper.